I would like to share with you before we begin Sri Aurobindo's comment to Amal Kiran, where Sri Aurobindo says to him, a line has to be viewed not only in its separate value, but with a view to its just place in the whole. Now, R.Y. Deshpande, a very good friend of mine and a brilliant physicist, writes that the revised edition based on archival researches was brought out in 1993 and has a total number of 23,837 lines. In it, there are a number of verbal and punctuation changes vis-a-vis the early editions. But regrettably, most of the data on the basis of which these changes were made has not been disclosed. This is something we can all ask for from the Archives Department. In addition to these 23,837 lines, there are several unused passages in the documents which have not found their places in the final text. If these are also included, the total number will cross 24,000 lines. Now, Sri Aurobindo says, the poet has to make us live in the soul and in the inner mind and heart. And for that, he must first make us see by the soul in its light and with its deeper vision. He is, as the ancients knew, a seer and not merely a maker of rhymes. He is not merely a jongleur, rhapsodist, or troubadour, and not merely a thinker in lines and stanzas. He sees beyond the sight of the surface mind and finds the revealing word, not merely the adequate and effective, but the illumined and illuminating, the inspired and inevitable word, which compels us to see also. To arrive at that word is the whole endeavor of poetic style. So today we begin with the line, and I awake in voiceless heights of trance. Sri Aurobindo speaks of this third eye, and he says in his letters on yoga, further, vision is of value because it is often a first key to inner planes of one's own being and one's own consciousness, as distinguished from worlds or planes of the cosmic consciousness. Yoga experience often begins with some opening of the third eye in the forehead, the center of vision in the brows, or with some kind of beginning and extension of subtle seeing, which may seem unimportant at first, but is the vestibule to deeper experience. And I want to share with you what he has also said in the synthesis. It's very important. Within us, there are two centers of the Purusha, the inner soul, through which he touches us to our awakening. There is the Purusha in the lotus of the heart, which opens upward all our powers, and the Purusha in the 1,000-petal lotus, whence descend through the thought and will, opening the third eye in us, the lightnings of vision and the fire of the divine energy. Third eye, he says, represents the occult vision and the occult power, which goes with that vision. So the next line in Savitri, after that first line, and I awake in voiceless heights of trance, a mind plucking at the unimaginable. What is actually plucking? Well, often it's pulling with the fingers to give it an abrupt pull to. The guitar and the lute and the harp are plucked. You can feel that. So here is a mind plucking at the unimaginable. Remember that Sri Aurobindo always uses the correct word. He never puts a word in for effect. Overleaping with a soul and perilous bound. Perilous is a dangerous bound, fraught with danger. The black wall, the high black wall, hiding superconscious. This superconscience is very important. What does Sri Aurobindo say about it? In the Life Divine, he tells us, but a third power or possibility of the infinite consciousness can be admitted. Its power of self-absorption, of plunging into itself, into a state in which self-awareness exists, but not as knowledge and not as all knowledge. The all would then be involved in pure self-awareness and knowledge, and the inner consciousness itself would be lost in pure being. This is luminously the state which we call the superconscious in an absolute sense. Although most of what we call superconscious is in reality not that, but only a higher conscient, something that is conscious to itself and only superconscious to our limited level of awareness. So this high black wall hides superconscious. And what do we find? But she broke in with inspired speech for scythe. This is a very important word. In many countries, especially not highly developed countries, the scythe is a long, curved, very sharp blade with a long handle, extremely sharp. I have used it, and many still use it, even though we have super machines. This scythe can cut huge amounts of grain, of wheat, of rye, or anything. And so she broke in with inspired speech. So the inspired speech here is the scythe. And plundered the unknowable's vast estate. What is plundered? Well, it's often pillaged, taken, robbed of goods by force. Here, she plundered the unknowable's vast estate. And then this beautiful line, a gleaner of infinitesimal grains of truth. Oh, someone who gleans, gathers laboriously, bit by bit. Now, many will glean after the reapers come and scythe the grain. They will glean small grains that are left. But here, the sense of glean is a little different. It means to learn, to discover, or even to find out, usually little by little, slowly. Infinitesimal, of course, is immeasurably minute. A gleaner of infinitesimal grains of truth. A sheaf binder of infinite experience. Now, a sheaf binder is one who binds or bundles together cereal plants such as wheat, rye, rice after reaping. So we begin to see that Sri Aurobindo is using these extraordinary images of a scythe, of plundering, of gleaning these infinitesimal grains of truth as a sheaf binder would of finite experience. And then we have 4 very interesting lines. She pierced the guarded mysteries of world force, and her magic methods wrapped in 1,000 veils. Or she gathered the lost secrets dropped by time in the dust and crannies of his mounting root. Crannies is a small crack, an opening in a wall or a rock, a little fissure, a little crevice. We have Tennyson, and Sri Aurobindo comments on Tennyson, and I'll read that to you. Little flower in the crannied wall, cries Tennyson, addressing a pretty blossom in the wall, in lines which make good thought but execrable poetry. Sri Aurobindo is poking a bit of humor here. If I could but know what you are, I should know what God and man is. Undoubtedly, Sri Aurobindo says, the question is whether, without knowing God, we can really know the flower. Know it, and not merely its name and form, or all the details of its name and form. And so here is Tennyson's poem. Flower in the crannied wall, I pluck you out of the crannies. I hold you here, root and all, in my hand, little flower. But if I could understand what you are, root and all in all, I should know what God and man is. So we go back to Savitri now, and in the dust and crannies of his mounting root, mid old forsaken dreams of hastening mind and buried remnants of forgotten space. This term remnants, vestiges or traces, surviving traces. We have the English term vestigial remnants, describing things no longer of use. Even in the body, the appendix is now considered a vestigial remnant. So, and buried remnants of forgotten space. A traveler between summit and abyss. She joined the distant ends, the viewless deeps, or streaked along the roads of heaven and hell, pursuing all knowledge like a questing hound. Well, we know that when a hound is searching for something and it's pursuing it, that's a quest.
Narad,
Yes.
Can I have a question, clarification for
Yes,
this?
surely.
She is the mind, yes?
No, she is the intense creatrix
A
who
mind
is doing
plotting
all
it
this.
unimaginable.
Yeah, the intense creatrix is doing all of this. And
From before.
from before, she is pursuing all knowledge like one of the trained hounds picking up a scent.
Okay, thank you.
And a reporter and scribe of hidden wisdom talk. Now, once I asked Narad to tell me all about his writing down the lines of Savitri regarding questions or whether he heard clearly all the lines. He replied that everything was clear and then said, "But I was only a scribe." So her shining minutes of celestial speech passed through the masked office of the occult mind. The office is masked to us because it is in the occult mind. And we have to open to that occult mind to know that office and those shining minutes of celestial speech. And then he says, transmitting gave to prophet and to seer the inspired body of the mystic truth. And yet her minutes of celestial speech give to the prophet and to the seer the mystic truth.
Narad, may I ask a question, please?
Surely.
Is there a reason why superconscious is not with a capital, doesn't begin with a capital S? Is there a reason for it?
Yes, there is. When these words appear in lowercase, they are not the essence of the thing. We asked Nolini that. He says when Sri Aurobindo capitalizes, and I know people disagree about that, but this is from Nolini. He said that is the essential nature of the thing. But superconscious can be across so many fields. But if it's capitalized, it's the essence, the essential thing. So this creatrix is giving the inspired body of the mystic truth. Now we have these lines that are so beautiful. A recorder of the inquiry of the gods, spokesman of the silent seeings of the Supreme, she brought immortal words to mortal men. I remember meeting with Aurobindo Basu and telling him that Sri Aurobindo put words into Winston Churchill. And he said, actually, I've never heard that he actually put the words into Churchill, but that Churchill picked up the feeling, the sense of the speech from Sri Aurobindo. Well, it's almost the same, you see. If you listen to Churchill's speeches, you will hear Sri Aurobindo. In so many lines, they are almost pure Sri Aurobindo. Now we continue. Above the reason's brilliant, slender curve, and that is the reason, is it not? That it's a brilliant, slender curve, but Sri Aurobindo speaks to us so much about the limitations of the reason. Released like radiant air dimming a moon, broad spaces of a vision without line or limit swam into his spirit's ken. Now, this, of course, is Ashwapati. And Ken, of course, is a range of knowledge or perception. It's an understanding, a cognizance. And he is experiencing far above reason visions that have no limit. And I will continue without comment for a few lines. Oceans of being met his voyaging soul, calling to infinite discovery. Timeless domains of joy and absolute power, stretched out, surrounded by the eternal hush. The ways that lead to endless happiness ran like dream smiles through meditating vasts. Disclosed, stood up in a gold moment's blaze, white sun steps in the pathless infinite. Well, I will close with this line, which is sun steps. And maybe we'll go on to another section. Steppes are huge, extensive grasslands like those of Eurasia, chiefly in the Ukraine and Russia. And there is a lovely tone poem by the Russian composer Borodin entitled In the Steppes of Central Asia. So Sri Aurobindo is using this word sun steps. And as I have told you previously, anytime he hyphenates two words, they become one word. White sun steps in the pathless infinite. So now Sri Aurobindo tells us that Aswapati is experiencing these domains of absolute power and joy that appear in a gold moment's blaze as white sun steps in the pathless infinite. We have some time, so we could go on a little bit if you like. And
Sure.
All right, then I will get the next section here. We have many, many, many wonderful things to discover in this series about Aswapati's experiences on his way to the yoga of the soul's release. So we'll begin with continuing that section on page 40. Along a naked curve in bornless self. Bornless is an interesting word, and Sri Aurobindo uses it very frequently. And it means without a limit, without a bourne. The word bourne is a limit. So along this naked curve in bornless self, the points that run through the closed heart of things shadowed the indeterminable line that carries the everlasting through the years. So he's speaking first of all about the sun steps in the pathless infinite. And then he says, in this self without a limit, along a naked curve of it, these points that run through the closed heart of things, very, very beautiful line, the closed heart of things. The points shadow because they can't bring it out clearly because it's in the closed heart of things. They shadow this indeterminable line that carries the everlasting through the years. And Sanjana, here's your example of the capital E in everlasting. It is the divine. It carries the divine through the years. Sri Aurobindo will use dozens and dozens of words to represent to us the divine force. Can be the innumerable, can be the eternal, can be the infinite. So many words. So we have now the magician order of the cosmic mind, coercing the freedom of infinity with the stark array of nature's symbol facts and life's incessant signals of event, transmuted chance recurrences into laws, a chaos of signs into a universe. Wow, powerful. The magician order of this cosmic mind forces this freedom of infinity with the stark is a very strong word here, array, organization of nature's symbol facts and even life's incessant signals of event are transmuted. These different chance recurrences become transmuted into laws. And this chaos of signs into a universe. And then he says to us, out of the rich wonders and the intricate whirls of the spirit's dance with matter as its mask, the balance of the world's design grew clear. Its symmetry of self-arranged effects, managed in the deep perspectives of the soul, and the realism of its elusive art, its logic of infinite intelligence, its magic of a changing eternity. So Aswapati is seeing all of these things. We will find out much more in Canto 5 when we get into the Spirit's freedom and greatness. But even here we can see this tremendous progress of Sri Aurobindo. Seeing the universe, the creation, the order of the cosmic mind, the incessant signals of events in life, these transmuted chance recurrences that were made into laws, and this chaos of signs that formed a universe. And out of these rich wonders and these intricate whirls of the spirit's dance with matter as its mask, the balance of the world's design grew clear to him. Its symmetry of self-arranged effects, managed in the deep perspectives of the soul, and the realism of its elusive art, its logic of infinite intelligence, its magic of a changing eternity. What does Mother tell us? She says everything is right with the world. We cannot see that because in order to see that, we have to get far above the thinking mind. We have to get even above the illumined mind. We can only begin to perceive it very clearly from the intuitive mind. And then as we arise and we progress, we will get into a much wider understanding through the overmind. And finally, the complete totality in the supramental. Your attention. These are not the easiest lines, but we have to try to absorb them in our psychic being or in the openings of the higher mind, going into the intuitive mind, because they are Sri Aurobindo's experiences of the infinite intelligence that is in this world and of the magic of this changing eternity. The old saying, nothing is new in the world except change and taxes, is quite clear, especially regarding change. Everything is changing. Every moment we are changing. Every moment we are being reformed and remade in the consciousness. We are not today what we were yesterday. And tomorrow we will be something that we are not today. Namaste to all. Thank you for attending so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
I have a small question.
Yes.
Can I ask? I have a small question. It's the magic of a changing eternity. When we talk about eternity, we mean something very changeless. So, what exactly this changing, changeless? I'm not able to understand this.
It's a good question. Good question. Yes. Yes. Eternity, Mother says, everything is changing. She says that when we are in the supramental, there will still be change. This eternity will still change, because then there are the worlds of Satchidananda. And change will never stop. Evolution will never stop. There is no finality to life and evolution. So, yes, there is a changing eternity, but we cannot understand it with the human mind. Mother gives us some hints of it in her words. Sri Aurobindo certainly does. If we read book 11 of Savitri, when we get to that, of course, we'll see much, much more regarding this change that he has seen and that he has given his body for. And the fact that he will come again in the first supramental body built in the supramental way is the greatest blessing we could all have. Thank you again. Namaste.